Hello, welcome to the 8th day of October 2000 or November 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video exercise that I do each and every day from at about 5:30 a.m. from my home here in Shizuoka, Japan. I do this to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which can be read for free at goingalone.org. I also do this to remember, to think about the last 24 hours, how I did with various challenges and opportunities that I met. I examined these challenges and opportunities relative to my values to see where I did well or poorly so that I can strive to improve. I do talk about sensitive subjects, so just be forewarned. This is a live personal journal. So, as such, this is not meant to be a public consumable item, although I do it publicly to help me to, there's Ollie, to help me do a better job. Just a second. But as such, since this is a private journal that I do publicly, I'm at liberty to talk about anything I want to any degree I want. Sometimes I go into things in quite a good bit of detail and share some personal information, although typically I'm very circumspect if it has anything to do with any about anyone else. Although sometimes I just choose to go fast. The one thing I do require is that I have to at least name the 8 objectives of my creed, and optionally I can go over one of the principles um, before I proceed, before I finish. That's all I need to really do. So we'll see how fast or slow this goes. You're welcome to watch. You're invited. You're welcome to watch. In fact, I encourage it. Um, it helps me knowing that there's folks that watch cause me to do a better job. And at least from the cards and letters I get, it seems that sometimes it's helpful to other people as well to hear how I strive to improve and live a better life and become a better human being. Um, sometimes seems to be helpful to others. All right. I do read and respond to comments, but not until I'm done. So with that, let's get started. Oh, and I almost forgot. A huge thank you to my those that watch my videos, my members on YouTube, and my Patreon supporters. Your support means a great deal to me. Thank you so much. All right. So as for the last 24 hours, I have one note here. It says pocket change anxiety. I'll explain what that is in just a second, but let me give you the broad scope picture of the day yesterday. It was a Friday, and I didn't have any lessons. Oh, by the way, if you're new, I'm a retired American living here in Japan. And although I'm retired, I've decided to take on a part time job teaching English that I do from here through an online company. And I didn't have, I chose not to have classes on Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays. So since I didn't have any lessons yesterday, I uh, mostly focused on spending the day with my wife. We were working on things. Our daughter and her boyfriend are coming to visit us today, this morning. And so we were getting the house ready for that. And I spent a lot of, mostly Yumiko was, I spent a lot of time, the greater measure of the day yesterday in the garden. And goodness gracious, wasn't it nice? The weather was really nice. The mosquitoes have abated, if that's the right word. They're a lot less. And I was weeding in the garden, which is a far more gentle affair now that I've done this last year. I did all the rough work of reclaiming the land in our backyard, at least a portion of it that we have for our garden. And it was a lot of it was just a lot of fun. I brought even at one point I even brought Rudy, my dog, was with me out there the whole time. And at one point, I even brought my guitar down to the garden. It just sat on my orange crate over the freshly weeded patch, listening to and watching the river as the sun went down, strumming my guitar. So pleasant. My goodness. This isn't about me sharing my the moments of the day like that. That's not the kind of journal entry this is. But that sets the stage and the context for what was happening amidst all that lovely peace and it was very peaceful. Amidst all of that, I was experiencing. what I call pocket change anxiety. Um, Pocket change anxiety is the type of anxiety that creeps in uh, when the mind seems to have a moment. Light another candle here. And kind of begins to pester from below. It doesn't really come from where the feelings of frustration come from. It doesn't really rise from there. It kind of comes from somewhere back here. Kind of creeps in and starts, invading the undercurrent of my thoughts. And that was happening yesterday. I have a couple of things that I'm working on. I have the situation back in the United States. Uh, I have the Bridge to Summer 2026 plan, which is my financial plan to make sure that Yumiko and I remain, as the economists would say, liquid through through the through the summer, especially with regards to continuing to pay off our daughter's university education, which is the last debt that we have in the world. As soon as we can pay that off, we'll be debt free. So we're still working on that, and I had a plan to take care of that, and looks like I was a little short sighted on that. Well, because I didn't anticipate some elements. So we're going to be fine. But if I want to make sure I can service the debt, I have to be a little bit creative, to avoid touching any more reserves. And I think I have that plan in effect, but some of the pieces are taking a little bit of time. So I've got the situation, I've got that. That's really the bulk of it. Those two things, and both of them kind of come up from behind. It's like having someone sneak up from behind you, and I'll find myself, especially at night, laying there, thinking it over. So this isn't story time. This isn't a video to tell you these things for their own sake. This is to tell you about how I'm addressing them. Um, in all cases, when I have pocket change anxiety, I address it like a frightened child. So usually these anxieties are coming from deep within. It's the part of the human mind that uh, stays alive by not ignoring, not foolishly ignoring the rustling leaves, which could hold a small shrew or a chipmunk, or it could hold a tiger. If you make a mistake and it's actually a tiger, you die. So there's part of us that is constantly restless for whatever it causes us worry, uh, creeping at the back of our mind for good reason. It sometimes it persists when we don't need to. Like in both cases, the case of the situation back in the United States and the case with the Bridge 2026 plan. I have a plan in action, and it's executing now. It's in place, and I'm with both of these situations. I don't need to have the reminder of the pocket change anxiety showing up. So knowing that anxiety is stemming from the part of me that's still a child that is asking, "Are you really sure?" I'm tugging at my sleeve. "Are you really sure, Daddy, that there's no monster in the closet? Are you really sure? Are you really sure that that situation in the United States that you've got it, plan in action? Are you really sure? Are you really sure about your, summer 2026 plan?" So, like a child like that, you don't just, well, one thing you don't do, you don't address that child with the concern and say, well, yeah, actually, good point. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe we should worry about it together. That doesn't get anywhere. That doesn't dissuade or dismiss, dismiss isn't the right word, or dispel the anxiety, the pocket change anxiety. It furthers it, which is kind of a fun thing. And if you read my book Going Alone, there's a principle called the principle of distraction, which would suggest that a lot of that engagement in that anxiety is just a lovely form of distraction in life, so we don't have to see the emptiness that pervades the universe. See, Papa, are you sure? So I instead of doing that, and instead of reasoning with the child, because sometimes the child part of us doesn't care about reason. Instead, I simply uh, demonstrate for it that there's no monsters. And we open the closet door and say, with a flashlight, holding my child's hand, and say, "See, there's nothing in here." And then look under the bed, you know, by stating clearly. And I do this by stating clearly the plan. So in the case of the America situation, I describe the. I state clearly, this is the thing that you're worried about. This is the monster that you fear. Here is the plan that's in place to address that, to dispel the monster. And it works. It makes the pocket change anxiety is like a mollified child that goes back to bed and clutches their pillow and goes to sleep. So I did that a number of times yesterday. I had both of those anxieties things working their way into my head yesterday as I was out in the garden, was out for lunch, walking the dogs, things like that. Those anxiety, pocket change anxiety creeps in them. And I treat it like a child that is afraid of the dark, and remind the child, showing them that there are no monsters in the dark, demonstrating that fact, and sitting and standing by while the child goes back to sleep. Likewise, I do for myself with my pocket change anxiety. Okay, as for the creed, well, my creed consists of 8 objectives and 35 principles. Normally, I state the 8 objectives and then read one of the principles until I get to the end of the principles, and then I swoop back around to the start of the objectives, and I read one of the objectives, and then just state the other 7. Let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to read. Yesterday I finished, got through the last of the principles, principle number 35, being ready. So today I'm going to read the objective titled "Being Always Ready to Die," which is my first and foremost uh, objective in life. Let's read. You can follow along if you have the hardbound edition of Going Alone on page 247. 8 objectives. Number 1, be always ready to die. Subtext, or become infirm or old. And a quote from Dr. Johnson. That we must all die, we always knew. I wish I had sooner remembered it. Here's my writing. Be always ready to die. At all times, have every important life affair in order, my decided purpose, my household and finances, as well as my connections, obligations, responsibilities, and commitments. So it boils down to 3 things being ready to die: affairs, relationships, and life's work. Have also my art in a state of readiness to carry on as my only real legacy and potential lasting memory after I am gone. My last photo taken, my last sketch complete, my final word penned and saved, no letters left to write, no goodbyes left to speak, no one left to hug. To be ready now and at a moment's notice, to loosen my grip when life is done all at once, and then fall into darkness without a single backwards glance or backwards thought or longing backwards memory. Likewise, to be prepared if I am no longer able to care for myself due to infirmity or old age. So, readiness for death, in my mind, signals readiness to live a more genuine life, because we can be saddled above the deeper anxieties that may haunt us regarding our legacy, our relationships, and our responsibilities. Having those things in order and not having to worry about those really does make a life a more open and an enjoyable affair, and a prepared affair. Ready to die without a single backwards glance or longing backwards reflection. All right. So the next 24 hours, well, it's a family visit day. Our daughter and her boyfriend will be here in about 3.5 hours. So Yumiko and I will meet them at the bullet train station, and we'll begin our day. Until then, I have a few things to do to get cleaned up, go do radio exercise, walk the dogs, etc. Let's go ahead and read comments. Hello, Robert. Thanks for joining me yesterday, Robert, at the my office hours. Robert says hello to myself and notes that it's currently 46 degrees Fahrenheit, 87% humidity. with an air quality index of 27 in Napanee, Ontario, Canada. Well, Robert, chiming in from here, I've got the dialed in right there. It looks like it's about 12 degrees and 70% humidity. Andy, hey, Andy, Andy Japandi. Good morning, Andy. Good morning to you. Robert says hello to Analog Andy. Andy says hello to Robert. Marmite says hello, Kurt, Tim, Andy, and others that are yet to join. I hope you all have a weekend of enjoyment. Take care. Thank you, Marmite. It's good to see you. Nice that you drop by from time to time. Robert says hi to Marmite. Sarah, good morning, Sarah, or afternoon, whatever it is. Sarah says morning to myself, Robert, Andy, and Marmite. Tim says, good morning. Weather check for the UK at 8:35 p.m. is 11.9 C and 93% humidity. Wow, you and I are almost the same temperature, Tim. There in the, but you've got a lot more humidity. It must be getting ready to rain, huh? A still cloudy, dry day, leaf sweeping day. Oh, Tim says hi to everyone, and no, Tim says hi to everyone. I thought you were saying hi to yourself, Tim. Uh, Robert says hello to Sarah. Very cordial if you say hi to yourself. Evelyn, hi, Evelyn says hi to myself. Robert, Tim, Analog Andy, Marmite, and Sarah. Ollie is becoming a regular here. Yeah, he's tummy wasn't feeling so good last night. I'm a little run down because he got up 3 times in the middle of the night to go for a walk. I took him for a walk. My wife will sleep through anything, but we tried switching up his dog food a little bit. And didn't work so well. So we've already been out 3 times in the middle of the night. Sarah says, but he's becoming a regular. He hears the voices and he wants to come join. Sarah says, I'm glad to hear you enjoyed some gardening. When you've done the major backbreaking work, general light maintenance can be quite enjoyable indeed. Sarah says, morning to Tim and Evelyn. Tim says hello to Sarah. Sarah says, your Shinto Inari Guardians look incredible. Thank you. Isn't it amazing to have authentic Shinto fox statues at the in one's possession? I gave them away when I went back to America in 2014, and the person that I gave them to looks like it didn't do well in their yard. They're more of an urban setting, and so they offered them back to me, which I picked up a couple of weeks ago, and just yesterday found a home. Yumiko was a little startled. She went to see the yard after I'd finished cleaning. She was like, "Whoa, where did they come from?" She remembered them, of course. Marmite says, anxieties are like friends of change, exposed. Wait, let me read that right. Anxieties are like friends of change, exposed to the risk of the unknown. I feel that I feel that light is the best disinfectant when it comes to these thoughts. Other people steering me helps me stay stable. Let me make sure I understand that right. Anxieties are like friends of change, exposed to the risk of the unknown. I don't know that I understand what that means. And I'm stating that not as a criticism, but because I want to understand, but I don't know that I do. I understand about the disinfectant when it comes to light. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, what you mean by that, by bringing the anxieties forward, maybe in the company of others for discussion, has that antiseptic effect. I also think that they're not a friend of light if you take a walk, right? If you're feeling a little anxious, take a walk out in the daytime in the sunlight. That just being out in the broad sunlight has that effect as well. So it could be bringing them to light in fact and in theory. Marmite says, sometimes they turn out to be nothing burgers. Yeah, isn't that the case? Especially if you've already got everything all figured out. If you've already got the anxieties, the source of the anxiety already worked out in a plan of action, and we're just working on it. That's when I suspect sometimes that instead of the anxiety uh, showing up for its own sake, it's showing it. I'm bringing it forth for the sake of having a toy to play with, like a scab to pick at, that distracts me from other things. The need to make good use of time. And I ask myself sometimes, is this a good use of time to be hashing this again over when I've already got a plan in action that is a worthwhile plan that's executing well, or at least executing? Michael, hello, Michael. Robert says hello to Michael. Little John's that is. Marmite says, I'm sorry, Robert. I misnamed you as Tim. Apologies. I hope you're well. That's nice of you. Tim says, I've never heard of the term pocket change anxiety before. I just made it up this morning. The times at work when I reflect back, it felt like a bank vault of anxieties. The day the vault was open was a good one. I called it pocket change anxiety, and I agree with you. It does. the work anxieties were like bank vault anxieties. I agree with you, Tim. Pocket change anxieties, I'm referring to the ones that kind of jingle around and show up from time to time and are relatively easily dismissed with just a little bit of reason. And um, as was said, the antiseptic cleansing of this of sunlight. Boy, those I like your term of the bank vault anxieties. Man, yeah, bank vault of anxieties. I hear what you mean. The ones that are locked away deep inside that seem to weigh us down like a bank vault would, right? And maybe that's not exactly what you meant by that, but maybe you're referring to the heaviness, the weight, the significance, the what is there's a word for it that I can't quite think of. I can't quite come to mind. The gravitas, the gravity almost of those things. Andy says, since we're talking about the weather, it's 9 degrees Celsius here on the west coast of Canada. You're in Canada? Oh, it's analog Andy. I'm sorry. I'm confusing you with Andy son. Andy, I got my Andys confused. This is analog Andy, the former photography teacher and current retiree. So those of you you're in good company here. There's a lot of retired folks here, Andy, um, uh, including Evelyn and well, once I start naming people, I'm going to start forgetting people. Evelyn, Robert, Tim, uh, and Sarah. Are you retired? I don't quite remember. So I keep thinking that this group sometimes, and I don't mean to exclude those of you who aren't retired. You're welcome to, of course, you're welcome to be here. This is not a retirement club, but sometimes it feels like a donut shop at 5:30 in the morning, because you guys know what it's like on the west. On the west, I don't know if it's like this in the UK, but here in America, here in America, it's not uncommon for the old men to gather at the donut shop at early in the morning at dawn. I would drive by on my way to work, and I would see in California we have nice weather, so I would see them sitting outside, with their military hats on, showing what their service was, Marines or something like that, chatting it up at 5:30 in the morning. This group kind of feels a little bit like that sometimes, and it's good to hear from you, Andy. And I'm glad to see that retirement is suiting you well. And like Andy also, and I think Andy's all right with me telling folks about him a little bit, because he's right. He's like me. He's kind of an open book with regard to stuff that's relative to himself. And he also, I think, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, also made the choice to kind of dip his toes back into work a little bit. I would love to have a chance to sit and talk with you, Andy, sometime and learn about the motivations that caused you to do that. Some people do that. Some retirees seem to do that. A lot of others don't. I'm curious about those of us who do. What is it about us that causes us to want to go back to the work world in some way? Marmighty says, also, howdy, Tim. Glad you're here. And Tim says, hello to Marmighty. Marmighty says, apologies, I will rewrite it. Oh, okay. So I get to hear that because I'm curious what you meant. Let me read it now. Anxiety walks beside change, a nervous friend whispering of the risks ahead. Oh, I hear what you're saying. I love that description. But when I hold those thoughts up to the light, they soften and reveal their purpose. I see what you mean. Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like having a what was it? There's that there's that furniture sales. There, I don't. This is very local to Southern California. There was a guy that was selling sofas, I think, and he would get on. He had a commercial, and he had his accountant on the commercial with him, and he would be it was a radio commercial, and the guy's name was Larry, and he would be talking about how he's having a sale this weekend at Larry's Sofas, and the sale everything is 75% off, and then the accountant would speak up and say, "Larry, you're killing me, Larry," because he's the voice of the anxiety, you know. Walking beside change, which was the introduction of the sale, and it was a beautiful commercial series that ran in Southern California for like a decade, right? And you would hear it on the radio. Larry, the ambitious owner of the furniture store, introducing these outrageous sales, and his accountant. The accountant had a name too, and his accountant beside him complaining all the while about that the changes are killing him. Right? Anxiety walks beside change. Write that down. I'm glad you wrote that out. Anxiety walks beside change. Maybe that's why so few people change. Thank you again, from Marmighty, for taking the time to write that out. The steadier Marmighty goes on, the steady hands of others on the rudder keep me from drifting too far off course. It's good that you've got people that have steady hands on your team. Sarah says, not retired, just turned 41. I wish I was retired. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't. Don't remember clearly on the retirement front. Yeah, well, you've got some time to go, but keep in mind, that by the time you're my age, I'll be 81. I keep saying that retirement is like a roller coaster that we ride on, and we shouldn't feel guilty for our time on the roller coaster, because as soon as it's time for others to get on the roller coaster, we got to get off. Tim says the bank vault anxieties were the heavy ones that led to the panic attacks. Like yourself, Kurt, I don't want those back anytime soon. Biggest trigger to call it a day with work. Yeah, those were awful. The panic attacks were absolutely terrible. It's interesting. I'll be seeing my daughter and Tatsuya today. Emily seems to be doing well with work. She seems to have found herself into an organization that's a very good organization with good people. Well, we haven't seen her for several months. She's been so busy. Um, but I look forward to hearing from her. And I wonder about, when and if it does get sour, if it gets sour for her, what our conversations and talks will be like, because the world has changed, right? It used to be that you would just think to press on. Baby boomers like me, we thought we press on, make one or two or three or four career changes in life, always climbing steadily upwards towards new horizons, but staying with the same thing. I don't know that that's such a thing anymore. Tim says the return to work once retired is a topic discussed a lot on my Facebook retirement groups. I think it's the inability to attain that sense of purpose, fulfillment, and retirement that work life gave. Tim, I really want to see these Facebook groups. Are they exclusive to the UK cohort, or is it something that I can join? If so, um, maybe if you would mind sharing the name of the group. I've never thought that to join a retirement group on Facebook. I belong to the community group from Huntington Beach where I was with, and it's interesting. I just lurk there, but I might like to join such a group, or maybe even start such a group of retired folks. Join is better. If there's already one, if there's probably lots of them that are established, I'm really curious to know. But anyway, back to the point of your comment, it sounds like this is a topic well discussed amongst retirees. Interesting. I think it's the inability to attain that sense of purpose. Yeah, I think you've got it right, Tim. There's something is missing in retirement. There's a satisfaction. It's like decaf coffee. I think that is probably, if I'm not flattering myself too much, I think I just stumbled across the perfect description of what it's like to retire and feel something's missing. It's like if someone replaced your cuppa with a cup of decaf, and you're like, this is great, it tastes good, something's good, but something's missing, right? What is this missing? You know what I mean? And your wife says to you, or your husband says to you, the doctor told you you're supposed to cut down on caffeine, and you're like, well, okay, well, how about just one teaspoon of Sanka a day, right? I'll just work for an hour a day, right? Yeah, yeah. Retirement life is like coffee, is like decaf coffee. Good, but missing that something that kick. And Tim, there's people, and I won't speak for others, but I know you and me for sure. Um, we just we just absolutely hated our jobs. I mean, I don't think hate is too loose a word. I think you would agree with me. I mean, I've even told that on LinkedIn to my coworkers. Like, I have to be careful and say to them, it's not that I hated you guys. I hated what I did, because people sometimes think, oh, you must have really enjoyed your career, because I was good at it. They must have thought you really enjoyed your career. I hated every moment of it. I mean, I enjoyed bringing projects to successful fruition. I enjoyed making the world a better place through the projects that I did, but I didn't enjoy my job. So being finding myself thinking about work after the fact is kind of strange, given that I hated it so much. But what I'm trying to say is, there are people out there that just absolutely love their job. I mean, like, I've talked to cops that just really enjoyed being cops for 30 years or 35 years and whatever it is, and then they retire, and they're not pining for to be kept busy. They're pining because they were like pool cue masters, right? Billiard pros that really enjoy playing pool, and suddenly they retired from playing pool, and now they don't get to play pool anymore. Right? Well, that's no fun. Or imagine you're a professional guitar player, right? And then you really enjoy playing the guitar. You're Glenn Campbell, right? I mean, Glenn Campbell's never retire. I don't think Glenn Campbell would ever retire, right? Glenn Campbell would always play the guitar and sing songs. Oh, speaking of Glenn Campbell, I was watching yesterday the story on YouTube about which Glenn Campbell song, "The Wichita Lineman." Very interesting background of how that song came about. If you ever want to look something up. Marmighty, I realized says I really make sure I cover the last one. I did. Marmighty says I realize that anxiety often shows up when I'm stepping into something new or uncertain. If I face it honestly and share it with people I trust, it doesn't control me. Wow, Marmighty, man, you you have got that. I mean, I'm impressed with your perspective. So many people don't even think about this stuff, right? It's just some cerebral thing they push through, or they don't, right? They just hang behind, or they push through it. But you push through and you think about it, and you have laid out the landscape of it. That what you're doing right there, Marmighty. And I hope I don't sound um, condescending isn't the word, patronizing. No, not condescending might be the right word. I hope I don't sound the wrong way. What I mean, what I want to say is, what you're doing there, you've got all the makings, I believe, of a philosopher. To be able to live, to experience challenges, to consider those challenges, to break them into their pieces, lay out plans of action, and then to be able to communicate and share what you've done with others. That's a powerful thing that you're doing. Kudos to you. Marmighty continues. It just reminds me that I'm alive and trying. Wow. Marmighty, decaf coffee is a great analogy. Especially if you didn't expect it, right? You think, oh, okay, great. It's like it's gonna. You didn't know that somebody switched out your coffee. It's like you wake up each morning, something's wrong here, and I don't feel good all day. I don't feel. It's not that I don't feel bad. It's just that something's missing. Andy says, I might have to start drinking. I might have to start drinking decaf considering the price of the real stuff. Oh, is it really going up? Wow. I do. Robert says, Robert says, I do hot tea myself. Hold on, let me get another candle here. I'm going to black tea currently. You're a tea man. Marmite says, a problem shared is a problem halved. Yes, yes. A problem shared is a problem halved. But don't you think it's important on how it's shared, right? I mean, there's some ways we share problems, like like a philosopher, saying, "Hey, I've got something that I'm working out." Um, I've kind of pieced a couple things together. I'd like to hear your thoughts. And then there's sharing, which is unloading onto others, right? I think it's important to to share the problem in the right spirit, right? Less of unloading. And I know you weren't even touching on that, and I know I expected you are, Marmighty, absolutely the type to share it in the philosopher sense, right? Because I think you are a philosopher. I just wanted to point that out for some reason. My contribution, needed or not. Marmighty says, you're not at all patronizing. Your pace is careful and honest. I don't receive that feeling. More philosophical thought. I love the way the way you discuss things, Marmighty. Pa- Pace is careful and honest, noting that effort. Thank you for noting that. Tim says, it's an interesting mix of people coming up to retirement as well as those in retirement. Some interesting posts and thoughts. I see. Um, I would love to know what those are. Maybe if you if you want to drop any names, I don't know if you want to, but if not, if you have a chance, I would love to know what those groups are. Andy has to go. Goodbye, all. Back to the dark room I go. Will you go back and develop some of those negatives into some fantastic prints? Take care, Andy. And Marmite says, take care, Andy, and enjoy the day. Well, I'll look. This went long, pretty long today. I didn't think I'd had that much to discuss with just the pocket change anxiety. We talked about some interesting things: pocket change anxiety, the decaf coffee, the idea of Marmite was putting forth some interesting philosophical ideas of sharing, bringing things to light, exposing them to the sunlight, um, sharing carefully, and having the weight, by helping others carry the burden, or at least, if not, we're not shouldering the burden upon them. We're asking their input and thoughts, right? And sometimes just having another person know that our secret, anxiety is interesting. See my post a little early. Think you missed it. Oh, okay. Let me go back. Da, 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 da. I'm sorry if I do that. I don't. I try to not miss things. I'm reading. I will rewrite it. Bear with me, everybody. I don't see it, Jim. Went back. Sorry, I'm just going back looking for the name of the Facebook group that Tim left. Tim, I went all the way back. I didn't see it. Let me try this again. Um, it's 10 up from the bottom. From 10 up from the bottom from that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I wonder if there's cases where posts don't show up. I've carefully gone through twice and then gone back up 10 from the post you left where you said it was 10, and I don't see it there. I guess the universe doesn't want me to see that. Marmite says, even this small moment of reflecting is useful to me. You help to refine. I appreciate you and all that contribute here. Honest and loving people. There certainly is a very wonderful, honest, and loving group. Evelyn says, I don't see it either. Now Tim says, that's odd. I can see it. LOL. No, so I wonder if we've uncovered something here. I wonder if there's comments that somehow don't make it through. Is that even a thing? Wow. I wonder, and that makes me wonder then how often that might happen. Because I'm pretty sure it's not there, Tim. I read through. Oh, did you include a URL in it? That's a good point, Marmighty. Was there a link? Was there a link in the comment? Maybe. Let's wait to hear an answer. That would that would make sense. Didn't post any URL. It's a mystery. Wow. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and look up on Facebook for retirement groups in general and see what I can find. Andy asks, Tim, was it your liking of the decaf coffee analogy? Send again. Let's wait and see if it comes through. I'm going to refresh my. I'm going to read my decaf coffee. Well, wait, I'm going to tell you something funny. Do you see the meadow behind the house here? We have some garden shoes that you may going to have, and we take them off and leave them at the front door, and they started disappearing. And I've been finding the garden shoes out there in the field. There's a tanuki, a raccoon dog. That there's two of them. I've seen them, and I think the tanuki are stealing our shoes and taking them out into the field. They have chew marks on them. Strange thing that is. Oh, it's starting to get nice and light. Anything else to add for the day? Right, Ollie? Where's Ollie? He's back. He went back to be with Mama for a little bit. You feeling any better, Ollie? Well, maybe Tim's not gonna send it again, or got distracted away. Wait just another minute here. I will look. Oh, only in Japan, Tanuki stealing your gardening shoes is like folklore tale. Yeah, it really is. Okay, I'm gonna hang on just a second. Let's just hang on until we can hear from Tim. I would hate to close this down before Tim has a chance to click the send button. If that's in the works, I'll show you guys the outside from the front here. There's little Rudy sleeping away. I put this blanket out every. He likes to sleep by the window here, and so he stays nice and warm. I've got a little heater right over here, and there's my guitar. And Tim says, I don't think my posts are appearing. Well, that one appeared. Wow, that's a mystery. I wish I was Rudy. um, that's really strange, Tim. I wonder if there's something up with this system that it's filtering out anything that maybe references Facebook or something, or I don't know. But thank you for trying. I appreciate that. Okay, well, with that, and time moving on, I'm going to go ahead and stop for now. And I want to thank everybody for joining me today. I hope everybody has a good and a nice day, whether it's Friday or Saturday to you. Thanks for joining me. Thank you, Sarah. I hope you have a great day as well. And thank you for your nice message to Emily and Tatsuya. See you all next time. Thank you, Evelyn. Be safe, but not too safe, everybody. Tim, hold on. Update from Tim. How odd. I've posted the name of the group a few times. Oh, wait, where's this? There's a new person. Building Inner Gold. Francis Ford Coppola's last film and passion project of 30 years, a flop. Plus, he invested his entire fortune of 120 million, sold all his vineyards and real estate empire to make it. Hmm. Was that a reference to the fact that I was watching The Godfather? I don't think I mentioned that yesterday. Sarah says, "Hi, have a great day, all. Thank you. That you too have a great day, Tim." But thanks. Robert says hi to Buildings Inner Gold. Marmite says, "Seems like spam. I think it is." Uh, and if you're not spam, I'm sorry. I just don't understand the context of your message. Robert says, "Thank you. Bye all." Hi, thanks for. Oh, this is Building Inner Gold. I don't think it looks like you're not spam. You are somebody. Thank you for caring. I do care. And if you're talking, isn't it Francis Ford Coppola that made The Godfather? I was actually watching The Godfather the last two nights. Evelyn, yes, you mentioned it yesterday. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So, not, no, I think you. That's nice that you apologized, Marmite, but I don't think that was out of line. The message looked like spam because, in building inner gold, the reason it looked like spam was it was out of context. It didn't. I don't know. We didn't know where that was coming from unless you had maybe just watched yesterday's video and we were talking about The Godfather or something. Anyway, glad you're here. I hope to see you again, Building Inner Gold. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Be safe, but not too safe. And thanks for trying so hard, Tim. Take care. To give me the link or the info. See ya. I was missing. Wait, Marmite says I was missing context. Glad to have you. Yes, That's context is everything, right, Marmighty? Yep. Bye all. Take care.